Hello and welcome back to Tammy's Antique Vintage Dolls and More. And this is a segment of all my dolls. And this is Baby Big Eyes from the 1950s, the Ideal Toy Company. And this was an outfit that was gifted to me by a mystery woman in a box that she had sent me that I opened up, and you might remember me taking this out. Well, she's wearing it, and I had done a few repairs to it. I had put some new ribbon on. I have quite a bit of ribbon that I buy from the used store, and I went through. I didn't have to actually go too far, and right on the top was the actually of this bag I had of ribbon was the actual color that I needed for this sweater outfit. So I put new ribbon on the bonnet, and I thought it needed a lift of some color. Color does a lot, and so I took some little embellishments here of some little flowers, and I sewed them on her, and she's looking really, that just kind of gave it a bit of a sprucing up. Now I put one on the top of her hat here because there was a little hole up there, and I sewed up the hole, and then I just put a nice little flower on the top to cover where I sewed it up. And so now she looks pretty good. Now let's talk about something else about her. When I made that video, one of the things I wanted to do to her was to calm down the stickiness that was on her. She was so sticky you could just feel like your hand wanted to stick to her. So I thought the best thing for her was some Goo Gone to replace back all that was coming out of her. You could see it was coming right out of the vinyl itself. But anyways, I put it on her, went to work, came back home, and she was just as sticky as ever. Now, one of the things I learned back when I was a teenager and I was into dolls, I had a Magic Skin doll, and the first advisement that was given to me was, if you find that the doll gets sticky, put on some talc. Now, somebody reminded me of that, and that was Dolly me. And I put a reply in there saying that I wanted to return her back to using the same product she was made of. And I was hoping that would do it for her. But Dolly me, you were right. Very right. The talc worked, and the baby powder worked, and that's what I used on her. And also another thing on her was it made her smell really pretty. So I did go back to it. You were right about that. And I used it, and guess what? She's nice and soft. But it's not going to solve the long-term problem of her becoming sticky again. She will return back to being sticky one more time. So I got to find a product out there that I can use to calm that down in her, and so I'm going to keep looking. But Goo Gone was not the right product for her. There was something about it that just was not working on her. So right now she's been powdered down and she's feeling good and nice, and oh, her clothes just go on her so much nicer now. They slide up and down on her because it calmed it right down. But I just don't think it's I have to do this every so often to her, and it seems like the stickiness is getting worse, worse, worse. So I don't know, something else I'm going to have to look into to see if we can find something else. Forrest Elk Deer mentioned about the Goo Gone, that it's more of a cleaning solution than it is a, like she was wondering, was it more of a cleaning product than it is really one to restore vinyl? Well, that's the thing about it. It is supposed to remove dirt off, or whatever the goo off of stuff. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to loosen it and lift it. That's what it's supposed to do. And so you want to get tape residue and things like that off of there. So that's what you're trying to do with the product itself. Though sometimes products can be used for other things as well. That's what happens when products are made up. Sometimes you can use them for other things. Like this doll here. It worked very well on her type of vinyl. But again, we're talking two different kinds of products here. Material that the dolls were made out of. This vinyl is a more sturdier vinyl. This is a more weaker vinyl. In its own way, it might have its strengths, but it received the Goo Gone so much better than what this did. So something to be said about the different types of vinyls that have come out during the same time period, pretty close to the same time period. So again, we have to experiment to find out, and it was a great experiment to realize that Goo Gone is not going to be the answer for everything, and that the baby powder sometimes is going to be the answer for the time being. But I don't want it to become the product that I use all the time on these old dolls. I'm hoping I can find something else. Maybe I will be stuck with it, with this one doll. Other dolls receive the Goo Gone better and others do not. This one, no. I'm going to have to say I had a different result. If anything, she was so sticky. So I washed her down, removed everything off of her, and the stickiness was just as bad when she dried. And I went right to the baby powder, and she is as soft as ever. So there is something to be said about the talc. Thank you, Dolly Me, for mentioning it and for coming through with that for me and reminding me of that nice little old trick. It did work. So the Goo Gone did not. So I'm going to still look. There's some other products out there I want to use. I live close to an automotive store that has a lot of vinyl products that they use for restoring vinyls in cars and whatnot. I would like to try some of them on a real, maybe an old but cheaper doll that doesn't really, I hate to say this, but doesn't matter as much as maybe some other dolls would be. But that's the way we're going to find out. You have to experiment to find out. And I have some of my own dolls that I would like to do this with. So that's another something down the road. And I'll keep everybody, you know, updated as I move through and using different products. But I want to make sure that I did get that back out there to Dolly and me. Thumbs up to you, mister, for telling me about that and reminding me of it. And I was hoping what I was doing would work, but nope. And you know what? Every now and again, you got to eat some crow. Well, we're having beef stew today, though, so there you go. Now, another thing I want to do is buttons, buttons. Who's got the buttons? I got the buttons. And buttons galore. Look at the buttons, baby big eyes. Don't swallow them. There we go. We got buttons. Now, why am I talking about buttons? Well, I went to my used store back quite some time ago, and I bought a whole big bag for $3. This big, huge bag here of buttons. I think it was $3 it said. Here, let me take a look. Yep, $3. And I got all these nice old buttons. And it was up there on a shelf, just sitting there. And for $3, I got all that. And somebody took a lot of care into their buttons because, or might have been some type of a sewer, or I don't know, a seamstress, I don't know. But these buttons have been put on strings and categorized and everything for me. So but I got the tiniest little baby buttons in here to the biggest buttons in here, and they're all like color categorized too. So this is mostly a white bag of with the exceptions of some nice in the brown color, the off colors of white and whatnot in here, and some lighter browns in here as well. But the most of the bag is like different colors of white buttons. Why am I talking about buttons? Well, she was missing a button off her sweater here, and I had to try to find one, and I thought, oh, that bag of white buttons, where is it? Went out to my shop and pulled it in, and I had to find a button that came close to this one and this one up here. Now, these buttons have a little bit of a curvature, a little bit of roundness to it. This is more of a flat one in here, but I sewed that one on, and it looks pretty good. Took some little embellishments, embellished it up, gave her some new ribbon on her bonnet, and she's looking sweet as ever now. So I just thought I'd tell you about that. Don't ever miss an opportunity. If you can buy stuff like that, you never know when you're going to use it. Now, I will never use all those buttons in my lifetime. I might use a few out of it, but you know what? They'll go on to the next person when I'm done and over with them, and maybe they can use some more out of it. But for that one little thing that I needed, that bag came in great handiness, and there you go. You got your buttons there, and you can go through and find one and come as close as you can, and that's what I did. So I thought I'd share that with you. When you're at your used store, remember to look. My ribbons came from a used store as well. Great big bag of ribbons I have out in my shop. I have a drawer full of them too as well. All my ribbons come from the used store. I never buy this stuff new. And whenever I see a big bag of ribbons, I pick them up and I bring them in. This was at the top of the bag. I didn't even have to go surfing through the bag to find a match for this wonderful little sweater outfit. This is true wool. It's kind of picky wool. So it's very, very, that nice old wool. So anyways, I thought I'd show this to you. Now, whoops, what's going to happen here is John has something that he wants to do.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I've had thousands and thousands of requests for another story about the brave farmer on the tractor. And if my beautiful assistant could just get my script for me so I don't forget my lines. Okay, here we are. Now then, before we start this though, there's just one little thing we have to do to protect ourselves legally. Tell me when you've filmed all this here. Okay, we're done with that. Now then, on with the story about the brave farmer on the tractor. One day, the birds were singing, the dogs were barking, and the chickens were clucking. It was a beautiful day as the farmer was farming, because that's what most farmers do. And one day, though, something happened. He was farming, and as he's farming, he had to go in reverse. And he's reversing, but he knew that the edge of the cliff was there, but there was something else he didn't know was behind the cliff. A Sasquatch was about to get the farmer and sink his fangs into him. And just before he did, the brave giant with the giant hand grabbed the Sasquatch by the throat and threw him over the cliff and saved the brave farmer. And he got away, and the farmer was safe again. And the farmer said, "Thank you for saving my life." The farmer's wife said, "Thank you for saving my husband." The farmer's children said, "When I grow up, I want to throw Sasquatches off of cliffs just like you." And the brave giant with the giant hand said, "Oh, you're welcome. Just work hard in school and stay away from drugs, and you can be even greater than me." And they all lived happily ever after.
Yay! Well, I hope you like that. And for all the thousands of people out there, which I don't have 1,000 people, okay, who are watching this, who requested this, there you go. And there's more to come about the brave farmer farming his field.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye.